Oh, Amelia, how are you
Dan,
doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
Excellent. Pivots and grit. Oh my goodness. Super excited to be at Phoenix Startup Week. Can I run the slides?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that may delay us a little bit, right? You know, I go down tangents all the time, right? I'm super excited to do this. I feel like Oprah. I feel like I'm like you should be sitting in those big like leather seats, and
hmm
I should be asking you all these questions about pivots and grit, right? Super exciting. But before we do that, right? Hopefully people can see my slides. If you can't see my slides, I'm on the Phoenix Startup Week like splash page. And I love this week, this whole week, right? Because Phoenix is such a great entrepreneurial experience. And it brings me back to like, I've done this for like the last 5 or 6 years, right? Greg Head, Jonathan Cottrell. I got a shout out to our producer, Stephen Miller, who got us on the dais. Kate, unbelievable. Vincent, Haley Ring, who I saw. And then I was looking at all the other presenters. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like all these great Phoenix luminaries. Brian Mueller from CEO of GCU, right? Spoke at a couple of years ago. Jason Snyder Law from One Mission, La Dan, Tanya Katan, John Johnson. I think he's tomorrow. Right behind us is Dr. Ty and Courtney Caldwell from Share, which I want to hear, right? Ali Sachs, Christy Kerner, Stephanie Slim, Kathy Sachs, Josh Otura, all these great companies that we're super excited to be associated with, to support, and to rock and roll. All right, that slide isn't ugly. That's a good slide, isn't it? Come on. That's the slide you thought was ugly. These are all the companies that I support. My name is Dan Tyre. I live in Arizona for the last 23 years. It's my adopted home. I feel kind of like Bruce Springsteen when he goes to Asbury Park, because he didn't grow up there, but like he got famous there. And these are some of the companies that I support. Look at it in the front row. What are we going to talk about today, Amelia?
I think it was on the title slide, but we're going to talk about pivot and grit, just hard work and recognizing opportunities and just the challenges over the last 12 months that my company has experienced and how we survived and thrived.
Tremendous. Let me give a couple of shout outs here for some great Phoenix companies. Number one, Maison Ethan Turner has do-it-yourself fragrances, right? I'm a customer and a supporter. My friend Christy Kerner, my little mascara club, always makes me smile. I'm not a big mascara guy, right? But, you know, it's one of those things. RexPay, Rachel Mertzmeyer, solving patient pay issues. Awesome. And then my friend Angela from Fabric, amazing. Eric Diaz from Oye, right? Real transformational kind of businesses. I was just talking to Josh Otera from NutriGamer. He's now raising his round in Bitcoin, right? So talk about like innovation. And if anybody's looking to invest in a new gaming drink, ping me and I'll connect you with Josh. All right, I put this in all my presentations. I think you guys know I speak a fair amount of time all over the world on behalf of HubSpot and dantyre.com. A gentle reminder to be kind, empathetic, and helpful in the new normal. Number one, right, we're coming out of a very difficult year. Right, seem to have our like act together here in Arizona, which is exciting. Number two, let's give a shout out to democracy. And number three, I put this in all my slides. Right, Dan Tyre and HubSpot is an anti-racist person and company, and we stand with our employees, our partners, our customers. HubSpot now has 2 women on our board of directors. We have a person of color on our board of directors. We have a Black man on our board of directors, which I'm super excited. All right. Did you see this, Amelia?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think when you saw this?
I don't know. I'm sure there's a story behind it. I was just like, I don't know. I have no idea what it is.
The weirdest thing, Stephen Miller said I can have one joke. He's like, get right to the point, Tyre. You tend to ramble on a little, and that is true, right? But this weekend in Nebraska, right, hundreds of people showed up by the name of Josh to fight over who is like Josh number one. And we would never do that in Arizona, right? We would never do that. We're all about uplifting entrepreneurs, supporting each other. We're not going to fight about who the number one Josh is. We don't care the number one Steve and the number one John, none of that kind of stuff. But that's just flat out weird and points out the differences between Arizona and all the other places. All right, Amelia, easy or hard to be an entrepreneur in 2021?
I feel like this picture is like pretty on point. That's what it feels like.
I know. And it's a trick question. I ask that at all my presentations, and it depends, right? Depends on where you are, depends on your skill set, depends if you're a first-time entrepreneur, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Pivot and grit, and all about you and I and what we've gone through over the last couple of years. All right. I look very fat in that picture. I don't know why. It's not my best angle, right? And you look awesome. Right. But you don't have the red shoes on. We didn't.
I do have the red shoes on. You just can't see them because my feet are not in the shot.
Okay. All right. So this is your slide. Let's talk a little bit about our background.
Yeah. So I first met Dan at a marketing event in 2015. And this was our first appearance together in 2016. This was at a HubSpot user group. He talked about inbound marketing. Marcus Sheridan was there talking about inbound marketing. That's where I met both of them for the first time. And that was where I was introduced to HubSpot. And we got HubSpot and I learned how to be an inbound marketer. And that's kind of how we launched and grew the company. And so, so you guys are very lucky because this is only the second time that Dan and I have shared a stage presenting at the same time, which is super, super fun. We talked.
And you were awesome. You were awesome at this, Scott. First of all, I alluded to the red shoes. When Amelia speaks, she always wears red high heels. There's another picture in here with the red high heels, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that I can't wear red high heels. I've tried and it just doesn't work for me. I could use the height, and the color is good, but it's just one of those things. Second of all, I'm an accomplished public speaker. Last year, I think 80 or 90 times. You blew me off the stage. Unbelievable. Your story is so impactful. Powerful empowerment, women-led company, the whole background. We got to get that all in like 40 minutes. So I'm going to move pretty quickly and amazing. And so tell us about you.
So I am the mother of 3 daughters. I started my company in 2010 when I had 2.5 babies, working from home, just at my kitchen table, actually, growing the company while trying to balance being a mom of babies. Now this is actually a picture from Sunday. So that's my girls now. My oldest is driving and it's a little crazy. But yeah, I'm big into just equality and equal opportunities for everyone, whether that's female, male, religion, race, all of that. So we try really hard to be diverse. I was actually talking to my team about this right now. This is me and my team yesterday. This is our executive team. We're a female-led company. Our executive team is all female, and not on purpose. It's just like attracts like. So I was actually talking to them yesterday about how we need to get some diversity on the executive team as we're expanding. So we're not all just a bunch of white women. But it is pretty cool to run a tech company with a female executive team. The rest of our team is pretty diverse, but yeah, so we're actually only 7 miles away from Arizona right now. This is us camping outside of Zion National Park yesterday. So much fun. But yeah, that's kind of the makeup of our team. We've got about 15 administrative employees and right now about 50 licensed counselors and 1,200 licensed massage therapists. So that's kind of
all right. And you're going to talk a little bit about the incorporate massage, rise, and then the pivot, right? We want to hear from the very, very beginning. And if there's questions, put them in the Zoom group chat pane. We'll stop and we'll give those answers, those questions, right? Because we want to make sure that we're spot on. This is interactive. This is the way it is. I'm kind of sad that it's not live, right? But like, we have to be safe. We're coming out of it, and amazing. So a couple of things. Number one, you're a great entrepreneur, right? I've told you that before. It's not only the red shoes, not only the colored hair. Do you have any color in your hair today, Amelia?
I mean, the color is blonde now. Okay. There's some other slides where it's red and long, and just, I get bored really easy.
Okay, I don't want to be sexist because rarely do people ask me about the color of my hair, and I probably should put a little blue or orange in there one of these days, right? But you got a big heart, right? You have learned how to be an awesome entrepreneur over the last 8 years. I've seen you grow and develop, right? All of the things that are important for culture and scale, right? And today, pivot and grit. This is going to be, we're going to laugh, we're going to cry, right? My heart is going to go right up through my throat because it's amazing story. All right. All right. Where was this?
So this was at Venture Madness. I had to think of the name real quick. So this is like the last thing that was fun that I did before COVID hit. This was in Phoenix, and Dan was there with us, and I got to pitch at Venture Madness, and then the world shut down. So this was like my last hoorah before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Arizona is awesome. I mean, Dan is on my board and he lives there. We have investors there. We have employees there. We've had employees there for years and years and years. And a lot of clients there. It's by getting to participate in the Venture Madness competition, I really got to know the startup ecosystem there, and a lot of the, advisors and resources that you guys have available. So I really do feel like Arizona is my second home. And it's an important part of like the Zenovate story and our community.
Awesome. All right. So take us back to the beginning, right?
Okay.
When you first started, right? Not Zenovate, but in corporate massage. Everybody wants to hear about like the very beginning because there are lots of entrepreneurs in the audience, right? They're interested in understanding how to like take the first step. And this is amazing.
Yeah. Yes. So I started in 2010. Basically, I'm actually going to go back just a little bit further than that. My husband and I had started an online outdoor retailer, and we had run that business for like 4 or 5 years. And then the Great Recession hit in 2008. And by 2009, we had to shut our doors because people stopped buying tents and backpacks and coats. And we just, we ended up having to sell them for less than we bought them for, and just on eBay, which don't tell anybody because you're not allowed to sell really nice outdoor gear on eBay as a retailer. But yeah, we left that whole situation with like $60,000 in debt. We were about to lose our house. We had to borrow money from our parents to buy groceries for our daughters, our 1.5 kids at the time. And I just wasn't sure how I was going to get out of that mess. I am a massage therapist. And so I was doing like 5 hours of massage a day. My husband was working as a firefighter and then like driving concrete truck and working security at night. And so we were just like maxed out of what we could do. And I just was like, you know what, we need to do another business. And it needs to be something I'm passionate about, because I really wasn't into outdoor gear. That was really my husband's thing. And I was the one running it while he was working. And so I wanted to do something that like really lit me up, that I would be motivated to see succeed. And so I just had the idea to try to bring massage into the workplace, because I knew I could only do like 4 or 5 hours of physical massage a day. So I was like, well, what if we bring it into the workplace? What if employers pay for it? And how can we leverage technology to make that a super easy, effortless, and scalable solution? So that's kind of how we started our journey. I did everything on trade. So I had people that I would, somebody designed my logo, I massaged him and his wife. Somebody did our uniforms, I massaged her. Somebody did our website, I massaged him and his wife. So just super scrappy. Basically, I think my total cost was around like business licensing and then like trademark registration. I think I spent about $1,500 to launch it. And I just started handing these brochures out to all my friends and saying, will you just take this to your work and see if they'll hire us? Will you just take this to your work? Will you just take this? And about 4 weeks after I did that, I got a phone call from a big law firm here in Salt Lake. And they said, hey, it's admin day. Next month, we want 3 massage therapists. What do you charge? And of course, I didn't have any massage therapists yet. And I am not 3 people. So I knew I couldn't do that one myself. And so I picked a price there on the spot that was high enough that, we're not giving it away for free, but low enough that there's no way they would have said no. So we could get our first client. And that's kind of how it started. So I went out and found 3 massage therapists to work this specific event, gave them uniforms, took their headshots and had them sign their W-9s like 15 minutes before the event started. And that was the birthplace of Incorporate Massage.
Amazing. And over the next several years, you scaled this to almost $6 million. 1,200 licensed massage therapists. These weren't contractors, right? These
Correct.
were part-time employees where you went out and you filed all the paperwork, right? So that they were part-time employees so that you could deal with them professionally as you scaled your business, right? Amazing.
Yep.
All right. I think
And
you were
to
the number
provide-
one. Go ahead.
We could also provide education and training for them, which was really important to me as a massage therapist, because so many massage therapists are misclassified and don't have access to any kind of benefits or training or anything. They treat you like employees, but don't pay your taxes. And so I wanted to be able to do it right and provide kind of a better future for massage therapists. That's kind of what I went into this business with, that idea. It was like, we're going to do it better than it's being done and do it right.
Of course, with your big heart. And number one, you offered scholarships, right,
Sure.
to all of these people. Number one. Number two, you had like free instruction and training. And I learned a lot about massage. Put in the chat pane if you like massage. Yes, massage, no massage. It's I wouldn't say too controversial. Like you had all the statistics about how wellness improved, how employment and engagement improved if people had massage. They're like, okay, you can cut my pay 30%, but do not have those ladies who come with the purple chairs, right? Take away my massage. They loved it. Oh my goodness. You had national accounts, right? You had all of these companies who are like, wow, this does have a great correlation to taking care of our customers, and amazing. All right, then let's talk about what happened next.
So as I'm sure you guys can imagine, there is probably not another industry that was hit harder than specifically corporate massage. People aren't going into the office. You're still not allowed to touch people in a lot of states right now. And you know, our business went to zero in a matter of 10 days. So I remember just sitting there looking at our reports, and as all the cancellations started rolling in March, just watching it go to flatline completely, which was the most devastating thing I've actually experienced. It was, I mean, it's a decade of work. We had worked for 10 whole years. We'd invested millions of dollars into our technology platform. And just, I mean, it was our year, man. We were blowing up all of our goals. And we were just, it was like we'd finally arrived.
All right, let me set the stage. Right? Let me set the stage. Here's what happened, right? In February, we started tracking COVID, and I'm like, okay, Amelia, run a simulation where we lose 25% of our business, 50%, 75%. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And you said, let's map it out for 4 weeks, 8 weeks. And then you were like, let's even do one for 6 months. And I was not happy that you were making me.
I know. It was extra work for you. And then in 10 days, it went to zero, right? You just couldn't go out and do corporate massage on site, right? It was just, so your business went to zero. Think about that. Entrepreneurs in Arizona, think about spending 10 years of your life building a $6 million company that employs 1,200, mostly women, right? All over North America, being the number one professional services organization in this specific discipline. And then in 10 days, having it go to zero. Right? To zero, right? I'm like, okay, forget about it. There is no way, put a fork into it, right? I like, this is great. We had our run, but there's no way we can recover from it. And what did you think? What was going on in your mind, Amelia?
I just kept thinking like, oh, this can't last more than a couple of weeks. This can't last more than a month. Like, that's why I was so mad, because I was like, we're trying to manage like all of the cancellations. Like, it's not like I could just pause everything in the business, because our team had so much inbound support coming in of like, we need to cancel, we need to push this back, we need a refund. Like, we just had a million inquiries coming in all the time. So our team was working like crazy hours and a huge workload. And here's Dan on my board, like, I want to see a forecast for this and this and this. And I remember just being like, 6 months? That's ridiculous. There's no way this is going to last 6 months. And I told him it was a total waste of time. So I was like, I was overwhelmed and I was devastated. Like, it was just so heartbreaking to see. But in my mind, I was still like, this is temporary. It's just going to last a few weeks and it's going to just come right back. Right. You know, there's no way.
I don't know where you got that from. I do not know where you got from. I thought the business model was over. What I just heard you say is, in addition, right, to having zero revenue, You had increased costs because you had to manage the relationship, even though people weren't ready, like they couldn't do anything, but they wanted to understand a little bit about the business relationship, a little bit about what the parameters were, a little bit about their subscription rate, all that. So in the first 45 days, you had increased costs, zero revenue, right? And it was looking bleak, right? I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. I remember talking to the rest of the board going, okay, like we need to find a bankruptcy lawyer. There's no way anybody can come back from that, right? Except that's not what happened. All right. So what happened?
So what happened is, I mean, there was definitely like this like whole entire week where I was like just depressed and like, I don't know what the crap I'm going to do. And I have the philosophy, and Dan has always reinforced this too, of just like, it's okay to grieve for a minute, but you got to like complete that grievance cycle quickly and get back on your feet and figure it out. So I gave myself a week to just kind of be stunned and in shock and like sad. It really was grief. It really was losing something, right? As an entrepreneur, your business is like a part of you. It's like a part of your soul. It's like, this is something I spent a decade building. So it was like I lost a child almost in a way, because this is something I've been developing and put my heart and soul into. So, yeah, I was sad for about a week. And then I was like, okay, well, we can either sit here and wait for it to come back, which it may or may not come back, as we're watching things happening in like all the other countries in the world and seeing how crazy it's getting. I, at some point, accepted like, this may be like this forever. I have no idea. So we decided we didn't want to just sit. I'm not the kind of person that likes to just sit and let things happen to me. So I was like, okay, we're going to take charge. We've still got like a little bit of money in the bank. And how are we going to, wait this out while we find a solution? So we did have to furlough basically our entire team. And there was just basically 3 of us on the executive team that were tasked with solving this problem. And so we did a couple things. We sent a survey out to all of our massage therapists, and we said, hey guys, what else can you do? What other things do you have licensing or certification in that we could deliver virtually? Just looking for another kind of service opportunity for us to meet somebody's needs. My original goal was just, how do we keep the people who are on contract that are still paying us to continue paying us? Can we provide something of equal value so we don't lose that revenue? Because we needed that money coming in, that cash flow, to keep us alive. And so some of our clients were like, we'll just keep paying you because this is going to pass, and like then we'll build up some credits. And that was really, really great. We're super grateful to those clients who were willing to do that. Others of them let us like switch it out. We ended up with 6 services. So we had like massage classes, we had registered dietitians, so we did nutrition, life coaches, we did meditation, yoga. Yeah, there were 6 of them. I can't remember all 6, but we basically said, okay, here's a pile of things that we can offer. And we just started throwing those at our existing clients. Like, hey, would you guys be willing to keep paying us if we offered this to your employees? So some of them did, some of them didn't. And then the other thing that we did is we started just getting on the phone with every single client. And I sat in all of those meetings. Like, I was the one instigating, and I was just like, I need to ask you a million questions. And so I was just trying to get an idea of like what their experience was right now, what their employees' experience was, what were the pain points, what challenges were they experiencing, and are any of them something that we can help with? Because my focus was just like driving value. Like, we have to provide something of value, because what we had done before, there was no value in that right now. I mean, we looked at delivery drivers, trying to see if we could contract with Amazon to get our massage therapists work, because they were all out of work. And we looked at in-home massage, like, but that was still off the table. You still just couldn't touch people or go in their homes. And I mean, we brainstormed everything under the sun. Like Melissa was talking about dog walking. Like, we have a platform that would allow us to do anything logistically. How do we know which problem to solve,
Okay. So 2 parts of grit here that I want to emphasize. Number 1, right? We were like, okay, we're done. And you're like, no, you grieved for a week, right? And then you rose like the Phoenix. See that? Right? Out of the desert. And you're like, no, we're going to figure it out. The second part of that grit is like, okay, but what do we do? And I'm like, Amelia, what are we going to do? Like, we'll do dog walking. We'll do anything. We've got this app. There's a lot of, you were also involved in the early stages of potentially using your application for COVID response in multiple states, right? So once again, right? That entrepreneurial spirit, that urge. How can I provide value? How can I help somebody? How can I take what I have today? It's like Apollo 13. Do you know that movie with Tom? I think it's Tom Hanks. Yeah. Where Ed Harris runs in. He's got that box of like stuff that's in the lunar module. He dumps it on the table. We gotta make this out of that, right? And that's what you did, right? Over a series of hundreds of phone calls, constantly talking to folks, right? You started to formulate this idea around EAPs. And tell us a little bit about how that came into focus, right? And like the early stages of you gravitating towards that business.
Yeah. So a couple things we noticed right away, and I've realized like through this whole process, like that's kind of one of my superpowers is recognizing patterns. And so I started to see a pattern emerging in my conversations with clients, and also with my conversations with our team that was delivering these virtual services. And on the client side, their employees were feeling disconnected. They were feeling anxious, a lot of fear, a lot of depression, substance abuse was going up. So we saw all these like mental health issues emerging and concerns from the employer. They're like, we don't know how to help them. And then the other thing that I recognized pretty quickly is our life coaches kept coming to me and they're like, hey, these people that we're coaching really need therapy. Like this person's struggling with addiction, this person's struggling with depression, and we need someone to refer them to. So it hadn't even crossed my mind at this point that like, oh, I should fill that need. I was like, yeah, these people need help. Like we need to have someone to refer them to. And so we just were rolling out these kind of experimental services just in Utah because that's, I know a lot of those founders and HR people personally. I see them at the same events because that's where I live. So we thought we'll just try everything out here in Utah. And then once we've nailed it, we'll like roll it out to all of the states. And so the life coaches were like, we need referral partners. So I just started getting on the phone with all these clinics in Utah. And I was like, hey, is there any way we can start just sending you business, right? Like no catch. These people just need help. And everybody said the same thing. They said, we are so backed up. We do not have the capacity to take any more business. We cannot, lend you any of the hours of availability or anything. Like we just can't help. And so that's kind of was my light bulb moment where I was like, okay, there's a huge need. There's a ton of demand. Nobody's able to meet the demand that's out there. My next thought was maybe there's just no therapists. Maybe there's no licensed counselors out there. And there's just this huge professional shortage. So we started another experiment. And I told my team, like, let's just do some job postings. Now, just a quick insert into our team. As the massage company, we have a amazing recruiting department, and that's all they do. So if somebody in Phoenix was like, hey, we need 30 massage therapists, next Friday, and we only have 15 in the Phoenix area, like they hone in and they're like, boom, boom, boom. And they find all the people and they hire them. So this is like something we have done for a decade. Our team is very well versed in like finding the professional services people. So they just put the job ads up, start interviewing people. And what we found is there's plenty of people looking for work. There's plenty of awesome counselors with good credentials, and they're willing to work. And we didn't need people who could give us full-time hours. We just needed a little bit of availability to see if somebody would bite, basically.
Okay. And then you became an expert in EAP. I remember you sending me information. I'm like, what do you know about an EAP? I didn't know even what it meant, right? And you're like, Dan, right? It's not that hard, right? You're required to buy them. And then you found the problem with EAPs in 2021, right? And tell us about that process.
Yeah, so an EAP is an employee assistance program for anybody that doesn't know. 80% of companies in the US have one. It's not a requirement. It's just, I would describe it as a box to check. Most companies are like, gotta have my EAP, gotta have this, gotta have that, right? And they don't really care if people use it or not. The EAP doesn't really care if people use it or not. We discovered there was something very, very broken. So your traditional EAP, you're paying a per employee per month fee. So if I have 500 employees, I'm probably paying about $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year for something that nobody uses. And the reason nobody uses it is because since it's a capitated pricing model, the EAP, they're just a referral service and they have to pay a provider every time someone uses it. So if I'm getting 12 grand a year and I make less money, the more people use it, there's like a big conflict of interest there. And they've been around since the 1930s, response to workplace alcoholism, and have evolved over the years. With 9/11, it ended up kind of morphing into like employee counseling services and trauma in the workplace, things like that. And so, yeah, it's just in today's world, it's like everybody has one.
So I remember when you pitched the board, you went back and said, all right, we think we want to pivot. And we're like, what do you mean you want to pivot? We're like, we want to pivot from a professional services organization that employ 1,200 people across North America to a SaaS company that is the un-EAP. And I'm like, the un-EAP, you explained it just like you just explained. You go, this thing is broken. All these people are set up and no one is using the app. No one is using the tools. No one is actually being helped. You go, that's horrible. We're going to change that. Right. And I'm like, all right, well, how are you going to do that? And what happened next?
So we were really just in the right place at the right time is how I would describe it. Like I pitched it to the board. The board's, I feel like their attitude was kind of like, well, go ahead and try.
No, I'll tell you what the board was. It's like, we don't have any other choice. Right. I'm like, okay, this company is dead unless we like grab something. Right. And you were smart enough to have talked to 100 people. Remember, there's only 3 people in the company. One of the things we wanted to explain to everybody is grit. Right. These were 90-hour weeks. Right. You just had seen a company worth tens of millions of dollars, like reduced to nothing. Right. And then you have to, with a very small staff, work your behind off. Right. This is 90-hour weeks to, first of all, talk with the customer. Second of all, understand the idea. Third of all, research the idea. Fourth of all, act on the idea, right? Talk about grit. For the rest of my life, I'll be telling this story. This was amazing. I'm watching it, right? Amelia's texted me on Sunday morning. She's like, okay, I slept 4 hours last night, so I'm ready to go, right? I am doing my research, right? And from a board perspective, we're like, okay, Amelia has done the research, right? This doesn't quite like it can't be that bad. And in fact, it was that bad, right? And then what did you do?
So we had partnerships with a lot of brokers already. So that for me was like the lowest hanging fruit. We would always provide massage for their clients, for their health fairs, for wellness programs, whatever they needed. And so we just started reaching out to I just started reaching out to all these brokers and just saying like, hey, we have this new product. Can I show it to you? Can I set you up with a demo account? Do you have any clients that might be interested in it? And we just kept fishing and fishing and fishing. And then we got our first bite in August. And it was for a program, our very first EAP, which started October 1st of last year. And
so let me just set the time frame. Everything shut down in March. April, we started like reviewing. May, you went out and pivoted from a professional services company to a SaaS company, right?
Rebranded. We rebranded in 3 weeks because we were like, if we're going to do something that isn't massage, we have to have a different brand. So we launched Zenovate, seriously, 21 days after we furloughed the entire team. So it was like the first week of April. We had a brand new name and brand.
Then you went out and got technical folks to help you build the app, right? Because the whole idea of an EAP is that in the 21st century, SaaS wins, right? Mm-hmm. And over a period of, I don't know, how long did it take you to get to the app to MVP?
MVP was August. We had we could show people the app. I remember our first demos were all done in like Adobe XD because we had nothing to show them. We just walked them through like the Adobe screenshots of what we thought we were going to build. And that was like May, June. And I think by July we had like, this is an actual product we could walk them through and then show them the XD of like what was coming next. And
was that the right decision? Was it the right decision to show them the mock-ups before?
I felt like guilty about it. Like I felt like I was lying. And so I did need a lot of reinforcement to be like, no, this is what software companies do. You can totally show the mock-ups before the product is ready, show them what the end goal is. And now I'm a lot more comfortable talking about the roadmap and like, these are the things we're building later in the next year or whatever. I was unfamiliar with that space. So to me, it felt like lying in the very beginning until I understood that it was like, it's okay to show them what you're trying to build, not necessarily if it's built yet. If that makes any sense.
All right. So with 3 employees, right? Tons of market research, repositioning the company, the rebranding, the building of the technology. And then what was the next step? You had to go out and get customers, right? And who's going to do that, Amelia?
the person that's going to do that is me because we no longer have a sales team. We no longer had a chief revenue officer, and there was no one else to sit down and do the cold calls and to ask for the intros. And I mean, we had a database of existing customers, but I hadn't even really started touching those. I was going the broker route, trying to make sure we had blog posts talking about it. I updated our website, and then, yeah, just go out and sell, talking to everybody I know. Basically the same thing, but I'm handing them an electronic brochure instead of a paper one this time, and saying like, hey, would your company be interested in this? Hey. And the first bite we got was Homey. And I know Homey is in Arizona. They're a real estate kind of tech company. And I just was like, hey, can we just give this to your whole company for free for 2 months? And like, can we, because I just needed to vet the concept. And I was like, we need some data and we can use you as testimonials and all of that. And then if you like it, you can buy it. And so they said yes, and they were super awesome. So one of the things I learned as we were doing this though, is if you roll out a benefit like this and you're like, here, employees, you have access to unlimited counseling anytime you want. You can get in within 24 hours. Like, the company is not going to pull that away from the employees. If they're using it, they're going to be like, yeah, I can't take their mental health away, like their therapy, if they're using it. So, and they used the heck out of it. It actually ended up being a pretty expensive for us 2-month trial, but very, very lucrative. We saw a huge ROI on it because they're a well-known company. They're in the tech space. So a lot of other tech companies started looking at us. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling. So I just had to think outside the box and be like crazy generous to try and convince people to use it for free. And it's not like normal SaaS where you're like, people are paying per seat and that's like your main cost. These were service providers. I had to pay all these counselors for I think it was like 60 hours of therapy that they used during those 2 months. So that's kind of how we kicked it off and got some visibility.
All right. So let me underline how, what Amelia just said. Number one, have to shut down a $6 million company while taking care of part-time employees as well as customers. Number two, have to pivot, right, to a brand new business, do the market research, build the app, go out and sell it, right? And no excuses, position it, understand it, incur significant expenses to understand market niche, right? Oh, by the way, you were also awesome in getting PPP money, right? Right. And you had a great banker and you worked closely so that that was help to fund the growth of the program, right? So that we didn't run out of capital as you're doing.
Yeah, we applied through 3 different banks because I was like, I know there was like risk there and like maybe the SBA would get mad or they might not fund you or whatever. But what I started to see happening with all the small businesses is they would pick just one bank and wouldn't get approved. So I like diversified my bets and I bet on 3 different banks. One of them came through and then I canceled the other 2 apps. So yeah, we got a PPP funding. We got an idle loan after that. And then I started fundraising once we started getting clients. So you can move to the next slide if you want.
Good. Okay.
That'll show you.
Here we go. Hold on. Yeah. What happened next?
Yeah, so you can see Homey's on here. Homey takes off. They're doing really well. They sign a contract. And at the same time, now we're starting to see brokers sending us leads and we close companies like Lendio and Venify through our broker partners, Blade HQ. And everybody is using it. I mean, part of me was just like, we may launch this really cool thing, sell it to the employers like this is awesome and people will use it. And then maybe nobody will use it. So that was kind of my underlying fear the whole time. But I was like, well, you don't know unless you try. So just got to go out there and see. And what started happening is like the need is so great. People were just pumped. Like people would have a traditional EAP and you have to like pick up the phone, call a 1-800 number. They give you a referral. Then you have to like go call that referral, get an appointment. And still you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks to get in with a therapist. If you're having a mental crisis, you don't have 6 to 8 weeks. So we quickly recognized that our unique value proposition in this space was that we could turn it around super fast. So we could get people next day appointments with counselors. And so we really started honing in kind of our positioning statement when selling, but we were just so thrilled. Every time we see a counseling appointment come through, we're like, so excited, especially for like new clients. We're like, hey, we just got our first counseling appointment for this company. And like, we all celebrate on Slack. So that's kind of.
And what happened to your personal health through this process?
So I basically worked 80 to 90-hour weeks for a year. And I started having like weird heart palpitations. And I went to my nurse practitioner to get like my annual checkup. And I was like, hey, can you just take my blood? There's like some weird things going on. And I got diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disease where you have just crazy high thyroid hormones. So I was really hot all the time. My heart rate was high all the time. And I basically just worked myself sick. And so then I had to go on bed rest for 3 weeks to try and get my levels down and my heart rate under control. They gave me a bazillion medications. I seriously, at one point I was taking like 6 prescriptions. And I had to tell my board, like, I broke myself. I'm supposed to not work more than like 5 hours a day, and I have to take it super easy and keep my heart rate low. And I think the board had like those same feelings again, where they're like, well, that's it, we're done. Like, that was what is that how you guys felt, Dan? That's what I picked up on.
It was so hard. It was so hard because you had done all the work, right? And it was amazing. And like the company had gone from 0 to 300,000 of ARR, right? You closed all these deals. You were our only salesperson, right? And you were getting the traction that was necessary, right? To show that there were clear opportunities here. And this space was white hot at this point in time because everybody's realizing what you realized in April is that mental wellness is important, that delivering in an app is very helpful, and that you have to pay attention to this kind of stuff. So then you went out on a fundraising tour. And how did that turn out?
I will say the first like 3 months of it was brutal. It was like pulling teeth to get any kind of commitment. It was mostly like, I have a few family members that are investors that were like, okay, yeah, we'll give you money again. And I was afraid. I was like, am I going to be taking people's money? And like, we're just going to crash and burn. And there's a lot of feelings of inadequacy and fear. And, I don't like feeling like I'm not being 100% forthright. And I know that investors know that their money's at risk and things like that. But in the very beginning, I was like, I didn't know if I could really do it. I was saying what I needed to say and being excited about it. But inside I was like, I had all these doubts and fears. And so that's kind of how it started. And the first 3 months were like so hard. And I don't know if it's like the investor environment, people weren't sure what to do with COVID and everything, but it was really challenging. And then in the course of like 1 week, it's like boom, 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 boom. And I get all these investors. I just wanted to raise like a minimum of 500,000. We ended up closing 1.1 million, which is our biggest round that I've ever raised. And a bunch of new investors writing bigger checks than we've ever had before. It gave me a lot of confidence because people were very excited about it. They loved the product. It's like simple and clean and easy to use. Our positioning resonated with them and what we were trying to do. And they were just also impressed that we had, with our pivot, like that the grit that we showed, that some investors like didn't really even care what we were doing. They were just like, man, that's awesome. You're going to do something amazing with it. Here's some money. So it was like very bleak in the beginning. And then in the end, it was just like, we were so overwhelmed with the amount of people that wanted to get in on what we were doing.
Yeah. Our audience has got to agree, right? You had a very active 2020. Right? That's resilience. That's teamwork. You had a great supporting cast, small, but mighty, right? That you focused on exactly what you needed to do. And then you refused to lose, right? I love telling that story, right? Because it is the ultimate entrepreneur story and a great way to start Phoenix Startup Week, right? That is, if you have Amelia Wilcox attitude, if you have that heart, that grit, that focus, right? Where you can do it and do it twice. Right? Not only when she first started her company, but pivoting in a global pandemic. Amazing. Amazing. All right. That's the way I feel whenever I see you, Amelia. I'm like, okay. And I believe that's why you were so successful. And lots of Arizona entrepreneurs believe in you and believe in the scale. Right? So how's it going now?
Now it's going amazingly well. Every time I close a deal, it's our biggest deal ever. So we're like definitely going upstream. We're getting in with bigger companies. We're working with companies with multiple thousands of employees now. We have a full content library of pre-recorded meditations and yoga classes, fitness classes, nutrition classes. We have a mental health library. We just added substance abuse videos to the platform. And so we kind of have companies coming in and they're just either buying like the app for their employees, which is like content and gamification, group challenges, a social feed, all these fun things to kind of solve that problem of connectivity between the employees. Because there's a lot of companies that are staying remote even after the pandemic. Like I was just on a call with Comcast, and all their call centers, they have no plans to bring them back. They are going to keep them working from home. So we're seeing that this trend, there's a couple problems we're able to solve. And that a lot of those trends are heading in that direction, where this is just going to keep being a solution that they're going to need. So yeah, we kind of have clients, either they're just buying like just the app side of it, or they're buying like the app side of it plus the service side, which would be the therapy. So,
all right, audience, put in your biggest takeaway from today. And in our last 2 minutes, right? Oh, rate the session if you'd like. I don't know. You got some free stuff. Didn't you send some free stuff for this presentation because you're Amelia Wilcox and you can't leave a public presentation in Arizona without giving away some free stuff?
Yeah. we have some stuff. So if anybody here is interested in having this, I think the smallest company on our platform right now just has 5 employees. We work with a ton of startups. This is actually a picture from our team meeting last week. And we have, we're probably 75-80% female. And I was in the sales meeting with our sales team, and both of them had their babies with them, this just warms my heart. So the one on the bottom is Skylar. And if you guys need anything, you can reach out to him. We have special pricing that we can give for startups. So if you guys want to give your employees access to even just like the pre-recorded classes and stuff, that is available there. You can just shoot him an email. And yeah. Super easy.
Unbelievable. All right, Amelia, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story, your big heart, your entrepreneurial grit, your ability to scale, create a great culture, and really create a valuable company, right, in the Arizona ecosystem that showcases all of the best attributes of our greatest entrepreneur. Thanks for sharing that today, right? If people want to get in touch with you, can they ping you on LinkedIn?
Yes, I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. Easy to find. And I am very active on LinkedIn. So happy to help any way I can.
Very good. All right. Producer, we're happy to take questions if people have, or we wanted to have some good calendar integrity. Thank you so much for doing this program. Shout out to Stephen Miller and Vincent Orlock for having us here. Super excited about the rest of the presentations. My friend, Dr. Ty and Courtney Caldwell from ShareShare on this afternoon. Don't hesitate to jump into that program. You and I will be in the Wove app this week. And if there's anything that I can do or Amelia can do, we're at your service.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes.
Woo!
Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next session.